Australia could actually win the World Cup. Australia winning the World Cup sounds ridiculous. Most football fans would laugh at the idea. The Socceroos aren't supposed to be in the same conversation as Brazil, Argentina, France, England or Spain. They don't have a squad full of Ballon d'Or contenders. They don't dominate possession. They don't have superstars worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And yet, after watching Australia's opening match of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, a question suddenly doesn't seem so crazy anymore. What if Australia could actually win this thing? Now, before everyone rushes to the comments, I'm not saying Australia are favourites. They're not. But World Cups aren't won by favourites as often as people think. They're won by teams that peak at the right time, teams that believe, teams that become incredibly difficult to beat. And after Australia's stunning 2-0 victory over Turkey, the rest of the football world is beginning to pay attention. Because what happened in that match wasn't luck. It was a blueprint that could make Australia one of the most dangerous teams in this tournament. Let's start with what happened against Turkey. Going into the match, almost nobody gave Australia a chance. Turkey arrived with one of the most talented squads they've ever had. They had stars playing for some of Europe's biggest clubs. Real Madrid wonderkid Arda Güler, Inter Milan captain Hakan Çalhanoğlu, a squad valued many times higher than Australia's. The expectation was simple. Turkey would dominate, Australia would defend, and eventually the pressure would tell. Well, one part of that prediction was correct. Turkey absolutely dominated possession. They had roughly 72 to 78% of the ball, depending on the statistical source. They completed hundreds more passes than Australia. They had around 30 shots. Australia had just 9. On paper, it looks like a mismatch. But football isn't played on paper. Australia defended with incredible discipline. Every player knew their role. Every line stayed compact. Every Turkish attack was met by a wall of green and gold. And then came the moment that changed everything. In the 27th minute, Turkey were attacking. Australia won the ball. Within seconds, they launched forward. Nestory Irankunda picked it up and produced a moment that instantly became one of the greatest goals in Australian World Cup history. The 20-year-old exploded past defenders before firing home. Australia led 1-0, and suddenly the pressure shifted. Turkey were expected to win. Now they had to chase the game. Australia could sit deeper and play exactly how Tony Popovic wanted them to. Then in the second half, Connor Metcalfe delivered the knockout blow. A brilliant strike made it 2-0. Game over. One of the biggest upsets of the opening round was complete. But here's the interesting part. The result wasn't the most impressive thing. The performance was. Australia looked organised, calm, disciplined, and most importantly, they looked like a team that genuinely believed they belonged at the tournament. That hasn't always been the case. For years, Australian football has carried an underdog mentality. The objective was usually survival. Get out of the group if possible. Compete hard. Make the nation proud. This team feels different. And a lot of that starts with Tony Popovic. When Popovic took over the Socceroos, there were plenty of questions. Could he elevate the national team? Could he replace Graham Arnold successfully? Could he guide Australia through qualification and into a World Cup? The answer appears to be yes. Since taking charge, he's built a team with a very clear identity. Australia know exactly who they are. They defend aggressively. They stay compact. They transition quickly. And they embrace being underestimated. Against Turkey, Popovic made one of the boldest selection decisions in recent Socceroos history. He left experienced captain Matt Ryan on the bench. Instead, he handed the gloves to 22-year-old Patrick Beach, a World Cup debut. Against a dangerous attacking side, most coaches wouldn't take that risk. Popovic did, and it paid off spectacularly. Beach produced save after save. He frustrated Turkish attackers all night. Some reports even described it as one of the greatest goalkeeping performances by an Australian at a World Cup. That decision tells us something important. Popovic isn't selecting players based on reputation. He's selecting players based on form and suitability. And that's exactly what successful tournament teams do. Now let's talk about the squad itself, because this might be the most exciting generation of young Australian talent in years. Harry Souttar remains the defensive leader. His presence at the back is enormous. He wins aerial duels, organises the defence, and brings experience from previous World Cups. Connor Metcalfe provides energy and quality in midfield. Jordan Boss continues to develop into one of Australia's most dangerous attacking threats. Daniel Arzani finally appears to be rediscovering the talent that once made him one of world football's most exciting teenagers. Mohamed Toure brings pace and unpredictability, but the player everybody is talking about is Nestory Irankunda. If you didn't know his name before the World Cup, you probably do now. His goal against Turkey wasn't just important. It announced him to the world. He has explosive pace, fearlessness, power, and a willingness to attempt things most players wouldn't even consider. Those are exactly the qualities that create World Cup moments. Every tournament has a breakout star. Could Irankunda be that player in 2026? After what we saw against Turkey, it's entirely possible. Another reason Australia might be dangerous is something that doesn't show up on a statistics sheet. Momentum. World Cups are emotional tournaments. Teams can catch fire. We've seen it before. Croatia reaching finals. Morocco reaching semi-finals. South Korea making a historic run. Nobody predicted those journeys. But once confidence grows, strange things begin to happen. Australia already have that first victory. 3 points are on the board. The pressure has been reduced. The belief inside the squad is growing. And now they head into a massive clash against the United States, knowing a win could put them in complete control of Group D. Of course, there are still reasons to be cautious. Australia cannot allow opponents 70+% possession every match. Eventually, a top team will punish that. They won't always score from limited opportunities. Patrick Beach won't be able to save everything forever. And if Australia reach the knockout rounds, they'll likely face opponents with significantly more individual quality. Those challenges are real. But tournament football isn't about being perfect. It's about being effective. Think about what makes knockout football difficult. Defensive structure, organisation, counter-attacking speed, set-piece threat, mental resilience. Australia possess all of those qualities, and that's why they're dangerous. Maybe not the best team, but definitely one of the most difficult teams to eliminate. Now imagine the scenario. Australia qualify from Group D. They gain more confidence. Irankunda continues his rise. Beach keeps producing big saves. Sutar dominates defensively. Popovic continues making the right tactical calls. Suddenly they're in the round of 32, then the round of 16. And once you're there, anything can happen. One penalty shootout, one counterattack, one moment of brilliance. That's all it takes. History is full of teams that weren't supposed to go deep into World Cups, until they did. And maybe that's why Australia's win against Turkey felt so important. Not because it guaranteed anything, but because it showed a path that nobody was talking about before the tournament began. The football world looked at Australia and saw underdogs. After one match, they see something else. A team. A real team. Young, fearless, disciplined, dangerous. And if the Socceroos continue to play with the same belief, the same organization, and the same hunger they showed against Turkey, then perhaps the impossible isn't quite as impossible as it first sounded. Will Australia win the World Cup? Probably not. Could they? For the first time in a very long time, that question deserves to be taken seriously. And that's exactly why the rest of the world should start paying attention to the Socceroos.